listening to the Improved Daily Podcast with Galel Fajardo.
Welcome everybody to the Improved Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Galel Fajardo. I want to welcome you to the second season of the Improved Daily Podcast. I'm in a different location. This is being recorded on video. I am not in my office because it is probably, about 90 degrees in there right now. Here in Southern California, we're going through a nice heat wave, and I said, to heck with this. I'm not going to record in my office. I'm going to record outside. So if you hear any background noise, you hear a helicopter, you hear an airplane, it's because I'm recording this outside. But the content should be good for you this week, and hope you enjoy it. So, the title of this podcast today is The One Thing That Kills Absolutely Everything. Okay? This one thing will kill everything in your life. What is that? It's one word, and it's the word complacency. Being complacent, complacency, right? Same thing. And the reason why I say it will kill everything is because if you look at most human disasters, whether it is a bankruptcy, divorce, those types of major things, somewhere along the line you can typically find where somebody became complacent in one way, shape, or form. It wasn't always, it's not always somebody's fault when these bad things happen. But oftentimes we can look back at certain times in life and find when complacency took hold of us, caused us to take our eye off the ball, caused us to neglect certain responsibilities, certain duties, certain things that we did before, and then there are negative consequences as a result of that complacency. I'll give you some examples. Being complacent with your health. What does that look like? Well, it means not watching what you're eating. It means not exercising, not going to the doctors, not going to the dentist. Being complacent with your finances, right? So you stop budgeting, you spend money super freely. That's becoming complacent with your finances, not being disciplined anymore. Being complacent with your spouse or in relationships that you're in. What does that look like in a marriage, let's say? Well, it means you stop saying I love you. It means that you stop going out on dates. That's a big one. That's the first red flag that I'll see. I'll have friends who they're struggling in their marriage. And I ask the question, are you dating still? Are you going out? And usually the answer is no, they're not. The monotony, the struggles of daily life, of bills and driving kids to practices and on and on and on and on, all that stuff becomes the new normal, and you forget to do those little things that you used to do when you started dating. So that's where complacency sets in. Another one is, in a relationship, you stop being intimate. This is both physical and psychological intimacy. So psychological intimacy is something where I'll refer to as, when you talk about your goals and dreams, when you talk about your fears, when you have deep conversation, not the surface level, hey, how you doing? But the deep, tell me what you're afraid of. What are the areas in which I can help you improve as a person? What are your goals for the next 90 days, 6 months, 1 year? That's intimacy, as well as physical intimacy. Physical intimacy, especially, you'll see start declining, and the parents can recognize this part. So you have to be really focused on making sure that you don't allow life to push you back into an area of complacency. And what I'm looking at my notes right here. I thought I was going to have 1 page of notes writing for this podcast. No, I ended up with 4 pages of notes here. And one of the things that I circled and highlighted on here, and it was the thing that really struck me about this topic, is that everything dies when you become complacent. Everything dies. Your body dies when you start being complacent. Your finances die. You declare bankruptcy and foreclosure when you're complacent with your finances. Your marriage dies, ends in divorce when complacency sets in. And if you do this with your business as well, I know a lot of you who listen to my podcast, you're entrepreneurs or you're CEOs, C-level employees, leaders in your businesses. When you become complacent, what happens? If you own a successful business and you take your eye off the ball, off those things that made you successful, what happens to your business? Your business begins to suffer. One of the shows that my wife and I like watching is Undercover Boss. And on Undercover Boss, if you haven't watched it, typically a CEO or one of the high-ranking employees in the company, like a VP or a CFO, they go undercover. So they pose at, they change their physical appearance, change the way they dress, and they give them a fake name. And they are going undercover to go within the company to see what do people think about working for this company? What's their experience like? And oftentimes what you'll hear, especially with the family-owned businesses or businesses that had one founder, they had like a big prolific name that helped start the company, and then that person dies and maybe the business is handed off to a son or a daughter or to somebody else. You'll find a lot of times they'll say, the employees who've been around for both regimes of leadership, and they'll say, things were really great when so-and-so was the owner of our company. Since he or she passed away and so-and-so is now in charge, they just don't come around as often as they used to. They don't pay as much attention to us as they used to. We used to do these things, but now we don't, right? What's happened? Complacency has set in, at least in one area or another, where maybe a company or an owner is trying to focus on, let's say, finances to help keep the company in a good financial position. So it's not out of bad intention, but then they lose the human element when they're focused on just the finances. So they become complacent in that human element. So all these different areas, and everything dies when you allow that to happen. So the reason that I'm really harping on this right now is because now I want you to think about in your own life. Think about the different areas of your life and where maybe right now you've allowed complacency to set in. And then I'm going to give you some tools on how we can fix that and how we can start to work on that. Where does this come from? Where does complacency come from in the first place? Some of the places that I wrote down here was it's a place of comfort, right? When we become really comfortable in a certain area, we tend to allow ourselves maybe to get a little bit lazy. We fall back into human nature, right? And what does human nature do? Human nature, it oftentimes takes the path of least resistance. So if you're comfortable, you then kind of, hey, I'm good. You take your foot off the gas pedal, so to speak, and then you don't necessarily do the things that you used to do to put in the hard work. Think about, I always go back to dating in all my analogies. I think about when I started dating Emily when we were in high school. What did I do? Well, let's see. I wanted to, make a good impression on her mom because, guys, you all know the moms are a big influence. And so what would I do? I was helpful around the house. I would help wash the dishes after dinner. I was just very helpful, right? Then we start dating, a couple years, few years, and all of a sudden, I'm not washing the dishes as much after a few years. And then we get married and you go through the honeymoon phase. And then I think about the last time we had dinner over at Reggie and Donna's house, my in-laws, about a week ago. And Emily said, Galel, could you please go in the kitchen and help my dad with the dishes, right? And what is that? That's complacency, because I'm in a place of comfort now. I don't have to necessarily impress anybody. I don't have to win her mom over necessarily, or win her dad over. And so I allowed myself to get lazy. And this is what we do when we get to a place where we're comfortable. And so that's why I'm such a big proponent of pushing people out of the so-called comfort zone, right? Pushing you out of that, because when you are stretching yourself beyond that area of comfort is where good things start to happen, and we don't allow ourselves to become complacent. One of the things that I've noticed as well is that when things start going well for me in my life, whether it's in business or whatever it is, right? Different areas, I will notice myself start to drift back into some bad habits. Oh, hey, I worked out every day this week. It's Friday, right? Oh, I can have an extra scoop of ice cream. Nah, no problem. I deserve it, right? I earned it. No. As soon as I recognize that, where I am allowing myself now to go into excess, into an area of my life that I have to be disciplined in. I cannot afford to allow myself to get lazy. I can't, especially with my health. I cannot afford that. So as soon as I recognize that I'm doing that, I shake myself and say, no, dude, stop. This is not what you're supposed to be doing right now. So, what can you do to snap out of being complacent? So let's say right now there's an area in your life where you notice, yeah, you know what? I am allowing myself to fall back. What can you do right now? So this all revolves around your environment, okay? Adjust your environment. Who are you with, okay? Who are you hanging out with? Who do you interact with? Who do you talk with regularly? What is your sphere of influence like? You hear people mention the cliche that, your income is the average of the 5 people that you hang around the most. I can't necessarily say that's true for me, because I hang out with people who have massive incomes, and I have not yet reached the level of success that they have. But what I will tell you that it does is that it pushes me. It pushes me because their habits are habits that I want to adopt for myself, in my business, in my goal setting. So what I want you to think about is the environment that you're in. Are the people that you're around, are they pushing you forward? Are they pushing you to strive for more? Or are they dragging you down? I have a group of guys. We refer to ourselves as the lads. And we have had an online chat going now, gosh, how many years has it been? It's probably been about 7 or 8 years. I want to say 7 years that we've had this ongoing online chat. Every morning we talk to each other, and throughout the day, and run things by each other. And one of the things that I've noticed about this group of men is that, well, number one, there's total authenticity. The things that we have said to each other and about certain things would ensure that we never get elected to political office. And so there's that authenticity aspect. But number two, it also provides a place for me to be held accountable by some people. If I start to complain about something, one of them isn't afraid to call me out on it and say, hey, no, didn't you say this last week? And now you're saying this? Whatever happened to that you had said? So that's one thing that's huge. Another thing too is with regard to my income goals. When I see the possibilities, and we're pretty open with each other, where we show each other our numbers and what we're doing and our productivity and what we have on our plate and what we're pushing towards. And then I'm encouraged, and I see the possibilities, because some of the numbers that some of the guys do are massive numbers, and it helps expand your mind when you're around people that are pushing you to do more. I used to think that $10,000 a month in income was a lot of money. This is back when I was 19 years old, right? I thought, oh my gosh, if I could make $100,000 one year. Well, then a couple years after I graduated college, I exceeded that number with no problem because I was in the mortgage industry here in Orange County. And I went, man, okay, I guess that wasn't so huge, until I met people that were consistently making $100,000 per month. Now my mind kind of started to expand a little bit. Then I met people who made $1 million a month, and then $10 million a month. And so you see, and again, it's not just about the money. I'm talking about the environment that you're in. When you see the possibilities that exist beyond your world, it pushes you, it stretches you, it gets you to see what can be. And so I want you to do this in your life, in whatever areas it is that you really want to improve upon. Whether it's your finances, or whether it's your career, or maybe it's your physical health. Maybe you say, look, Galel, I am totally satisfied where I'm at right now in my career, making X amount of dollars. I'm totally satisfied. I'm not complacent at my job. I'm constantly growing and constantly trying to do a better job. But man, could I feel more energetic? Could I lose weight and feel more self-confident? Well, then great. Then I want you to find a group of people. I want you to find one person, find another person who you can look up to, where you can start to have them pull you along with that, right? Where you can start aiming, that can be your role model. And so my lads, right, they are my role models when it comes to income and physical health and helping keep me accountable. If you are the most accomplished person in your circle, or whatever it is that you want to strive for, you need to get out and meet more people. I'm not telling you to dump your friends. Keep your friends, right? My friends, I cherish my friends, and I'm still text every day with my friends from high school. Love them so dearly. And they're people who I admire. I think that's one of the reasons why it is that I'm still stay close to some of my friends from high school, is because I admire them and I want to be like them in areas of my life. If I'm hanging around people and they're not, there's no value there, there's no intellectual stimulation, maybe it's just old memories, yeah, that's fine. But I find that I get really excited talking with my buddies from high school, and the things that we have in common now really drive me, and that's like adds to my day, it adds to my life, right? So I want you to evaluate those people. Make sure that you have those relationships with people that you can connect with, but then also where you're adding to each other's lives somehow. Now, make new contacts, meet new people. How do you do this, okay? Maybe you're saying to me, okay, Galel, this is all great in theory, but I don't know where the hell I'm gonna go meet some other people. Here's what I want you to do. Meetup.com, that's one website where you can start, create a profile, input your interests, and then based on your geographic location, you will be able to find groups that meet your interests. This is great because there's really no commitment where you are joining and you have to stick with this group for a long time. I mean, you try it out, check it out. If you mesh well with the folks and you enjoy it, then stick around and come back again. If not, no hard feelings, try a different group. So meetup.com is a great organization. Get out of your comfort zone. It's such a cliche term, but it's true. I find that when I push myself and I stretch myself in certain areas where I really don't want to do certain things, that's where magic happens. Okay, all kinds of possibilities happen. I remember back when I owned my mortgage company, my wife and I, we went to some event and somebody was talking to me about joining the Costa Mesa City Chamber of Commerce. And I really didn't want to join the Chamber of Commerce because I was going to have to go to these events. I didn't know people and it was scary. And at the time I was dealing with some anxiety, like social anxiety issues. And my wife said, no, Galel, this is going to be great for you because it's going to force you to push past those social anxiety issues that you have, and you're going to meet new people. And just go do it. Just go try it. And if you don't like it, then okay, we won't do it. But I want you to at least try. Said, okay, great. So I went and I did it. And my goodness, the people that I met in that Chamber of Commerce, I still am in contact with people there. So I'm telling you right now, doing things where you have to get out and meet people, it's going to do some great things. Another one, Entrepreneurs Organization, otherwise known as like an EO or EO Forum. I have a couple friends who are CEOs that swear by it. They absolutely love it. It's not an inexpensive organization. It's expensive to join, but that barrier to entry makes it so that people aren't just there to just sit back and hear advice. You have to be active. You have to be participating. You have to give in order to receive. Okay, so go check out that organization as well. Also, meet people in your field that you admire. So I don't care what industry you're in. Find people that you admire. You admire how they do business, how their business has grown. I don't care if they're a competitor. Meet them, become friends, get to know each other, take them out to lunch. You would be shocked at the amount of advice that so many people are willing to give you, even if you're a quote competitor. Okay, it's this scarcity mindset some people have where they go, "Oh, I can't give away my secrets to my competition. They're going to take business away from me." That is a load of BS right there, okay? There is so much abundance, so much business available for everybody that go out and help people. I can't tell you how many performance coaches that I have helped, not because, I'm just a great guy, which I think I am, but the reason why I love doing that is because it helps me get better in my business. Because I'll talk to a colleague of mine, I say, well, have you thought about doing X, Y, and Z? And then my colleague says, yeah, but have you thought about A, B, and C? Or I noticed you doing this. Have you thought about this approach? Stuff like that just helps you grow. So I encourage you to get out, talk to people that are in your field that you admire, and find out what they do. Find out how they prepare for success. And you may find that they have certain habits that you can start to adopt to help you get better in your business. Again, find people who have made vast improvements. Love talking to people who have made huge improvements in their business, in their health, in their relationships. Ask them, hey, what did you do differently? What has changed? And you'd be shocked at how much people are willing to share with you. And you can incorporate that into your own life, right? I love telling people about my mistakes, all the mistakes I've made. And my gosh, there have been thousands of mistakes that I've made in my career. And there's nothing more that I enjoy than when some younger person comes to me eager and wanting to learn. They don't have to be younger than me, right? Just another person eager and wanting to learn from me, saying, hey, what advice would you pass on to me about this? And I'm happy to share it with them because, heck, I want them to avoid the same heartache and pain that I went through with some of the mistakes that I made. One of the quotes that I wrote down here is that success leaves clues, okay? Tony Robbins said that, right? Success leaves clues that follow people who have had success, right? Really, when you can adjust your environment, you can start to adjust your mindset, plain and simple, okay? Changing your environment by the people that you're around, the things that you're feeding yourself, okay? Now, inevitably, one of the questions I usually get from somebody is, my family, my spouse is negative, they're bringing me down. What do I do? Well, I don't want you to leave your spouse or your family, okay? Instead, here's what my challenge is, what I'm going to challenge you with. Do your best to be a living and breathing example of the life that you want. So you find yourself becoming complacent or being dragged down by family or spouse or whoever it is that's around you, and it's frustrating to you. Totally get that. Now, what I'm going to challenge you to do is to live that life. Do not allow yourself to be complacent because now you have to be an example to them. Now, your job is to try to lift them up with you, okay? And let them know, hey, this is where I'm going. Come with me if you want. But even if you don't, I'm still headed this way, okay? And obviously, it's a delicate situation with a spouse, but I would highly encourage you to be authentic with your spouse. Tell them what it is that you are desiring, where it is that you want to go, what goals and aspirations you have, and then talk to them about their fears. Okay, and this could be a whole other topic. I'm going to bring on Emily. We're going to interview her and talk to her about how she's maneuvered this life of the spouse of an entrepreneur. So that's a future episode. Feed your brain the right stuff. This podcast, which is one thing I definitely suggest, and other podcasts, there's a ton of other podcasts out there that are fantastic that can help you move away from the area of complacency and helping you change your environment. Really, so much is in the 6 inches between your ears right here. Obviously, I'm a performance coach. And so if you can change your environment, so much will be able to change inside of this brain and the things that your brain is telling you that you can and cannot do. So change that environment by changing what you're feeding yourself. So this podcast, others, books that are related to where, what you want to improve in your life. That's huge right there. I can recommend books like crazy, but one book that will help you in all areas of your life is The University of Success by Og Mandino. I'll put a link here in the notes here so you can go and check that one out. I talk about that one a lot. And understanding the concept of garbage in, garbage out, right? You put garbage into your brain and watch the news and nothing but watching the Kardashians and just nonsense that you watch. You are no longer going to live life with this focus as before, because you're putting garbage in, garbage is going to come out in your processes, your work ethic, etc. Work on yourself and get a running partner. What I mean by a running partner, it's somebody who can keep you accountable, okay? Maybe it's exercise, right? You literally need a running partner. That's one area. But maybe it's finances. Maybe it's your business. If you're a salesperson, making those prospecting calls, and maybe you're not doing enough phone calls, well, then you need to increase your number of calls. Find somebody who can help keep you accountable to what you say you're gonna do. Hire a coach if you have to. If you don't have the resources to hire a coach, find a friend who's willing to help you with that. But there's plenty of people out there who want to improve that need a partner to do it with. And so I highly encourage you gotta have somebody else that's helping you along with this stuff. It just makes it so much easier because we don't like to let people down necessarily. And when you have a partner, it helps ideas flow, right? Two brains are much better than just one. Now, if you are not taking time each day to work on yourself, it's going to make it more possible for you to fall back into complacency. So make sure you're taking time every day to work on yourself. I don't care if it's reading, if it's listening to a podcast, if it's writing, whatever it is, but something to work on yourself and to keep an eye on the ball of all the different areas in your life that you can focus on. It will prevent you from falling into complacency. Understand, it will happen. You will go back and be complacent in some area of your life. It might not be the area of life that you're complacent in right now. Maybe it is. But you can get back on track because now that I have put this in your brain, you can recognize it so much easier when you notice yourself starting to slip back. Now you go, hey, that's what we talked about. That's complacency setting in. I can't do that. I have to fight it. I have to change something. Boom, change your environment, change something, and get into action, okay? That will help you overcome that complacency. If you need more ideas, you've got a specific scenario that you're just thinking, man, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. Shoot me an email, Galel, that's Galel, at improvedaily.com, and I'll be happy to send you some suggestions. I hope that today's podcast was helpful to you. I would love to hear your feedback, so shoot me an email, Galel at improvedaily.com, or leave me a comment here if you're watching on YouTube. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this subject and maybe your pieces of advice. What can you do to overcome complacency? What would you suggest to somebody else who might be struggling with the same thing? So I'd love to hear your thoughts and your comments here below. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and get on my email list at improvedaily.com. You can download my ebook right there, and I give you some behind the scenes information, some exclusive content there. So would love for you to join me on there at improvedaily.com. Have a fantastic day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching wherever you are, and have a great day. Bye-bye.